Everybody is drooling over deep work, 4-hour blocks, flow state, zero distractions. But here's what nobody tells you. Deep work won't save your week if you're picking the wrong work. Because you could be protecting every morning. You block your calendar, you turn off every notification, but still end Friday wondering what actually moved. Here's why. You're measuring depth when you should be measuring impact. This video is about becoming brutally aware of two things. One, what work actually changes your numbers, and two, what work just fills your day. If you run a team or a business, if you block deep work, but something always seems to hijack it, if you need results this week, not just time in a chair, this video will show you how to stop wasting your best hours on low impact work, how to know what moves your numbers before you schedule it, and how to finish your most important work before noon so you're not grinding into the evening. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Yannick, behavioral scientist turned high performance coach, and I help founders and executives achieve by lunch what most do all day without the burnout, without the guilt. So you still have time for what matters after work. I built a simple system to make this happen, and it starts with understanding why deep work alone won't save you. So you've probably read Deep Work or Getting Things Done. You probably build some sort of productivity system. You guard your mornings like they're sacred. But here's what actually happens. You block 2 hours for deep work, you protect it, you turn everything off, and then at 9 a.m., someone needs a quick call. Or your inbox has one urgent thing, or a team member is blocked and needs 5 minutes. And you feel guilty because you should have stayed in your deep work. You beat yourself up for checking email, for taking the call. But the problem is, the guilt isn't coming from doing the wrong work, it's coming from measuring the wrong thing. You're counting hours on depth when you should be counting moves that matter. And to understand why that matters, you need to understand how work actually works. So I want to share an idea from Paul Graham. He wrote about the maker schedule and the manager schedule. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So there's two types of work, two different roles, and they need completely different calendars. Managers, on the one hand, they thrive on slices, 15-minute check-ins, 30-minute approvals, back-to-back calls all day. For them, an empty calendar slot is wasted time. They move people, they make decisions, they coordinate. That's how they create value. Makers, on the other hand, they need the opposite. They need long, unbroken blocks to build things, write the strategy, code the feature, design the system, edit the video. But the problem is that a single 15-minute meeting doesn't just take 15 minutes from their schedule, it actually destroys their entire morning. Because if that meeting sits at 10 a.m., you can't start deep work at 8 because your brain knows that an interruption is coming. And after the meeting ends, you need 23 minutes just to refocus. That's not an opinion, that's the research. It's Gloria Mark 2008 if you want to look it up. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably a founder, an operator, a knowledge worker. You make money with your mind. That makes you a maker. But you also run a business. You have a team, you make decisions, which means you also have manager time. You're wearing both hats. Most people don't realize that. So you end up running a manager calendar when you need maker blocks as well. Every day is sliced into useless fragments. You're busy all day, but you build nothing, and you wonder why nothing ships. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people think maker time equals deep work, and deep work equals valuable. But that's not always true. Here's what I mean. You spend 2 hours perfecting your onboarding email sequence. Every word polished, every transition is smooth. That's a deep work, right? Except the real bottleneck is getting people to book the call in the first place. The sequence doesn't matter if nobody's entering it. That's deep work that didn't create impact. But here's the other side. Manager time isn't always shallow, busy work either. A 5-minute approval call can unblock your entire team. A 2-minute decision can move a deal forward. A 15-minute conversation can close a contract that changes your business. And that's shallow work that creates massive impact. So the question isn't, did I do deep work today? The question is, did I move something that matters? Depth measures effort. Impact measures effect. Just because something took 4 hours of focus doesn't mean it's valuable. And just because something took 2 minutes doesn't mean it wasn't. So what actually counts as impact? Well, let me show you what I mean with something that happened this week. I had a protected morning block, as always, deep work time, writing, building, the stuff that my business depends on. 9 a.m., I get a message, and I need to call about a commercial property deal. And the contract had to move that day. So I got a choice, protect the block or make the call. Now, I made the call, 15 minutes on the phone, then a handful of quick tasks. I emailed the lawyer, the accountant, texted my business partner, sent the approval, and then half an hour later maybe, the deal moved forward. And speed mattered here because someone could have taken that property out from under us. Then I thought about it. That half an hour moved more than 90 minutes of writing a newsletter would have. It advanced a deal that could reshape my life, my family logistics, my entire business model. The call wasn't deep work, but it was high impact. This is the shift. Depth is the tool, but impact is the score. And sometimes a 2-minute shallow action beats a 4-hour deep work session. So how do you know which is which? Well, here's the framework that I use. It's very simple. There's 2 axes, 4 quadrants. On the x-axis, we have depth. Shallow on the left, deep on the right. On the y-axis, we have impact. Low at the bottom, high at the top. That gives you 4 types of work. Quadrant number 1, the builders. This is high impact, deep work. This is the stuff that moves the needle. Designing your market position so you stop competing on price. Planning your next quarter so you know exactly where efforts go. Writing your core offer that makes everything else easier to sell. This is what most people think all deep work is, but it's not. This is just one quadrant. Quadrant number 2, throughput. This is high impact, but shallow work. This is the stuff that most people dismiss, but it moves the game fast. 45 minutes reaching out to past clients asking for referrals. 10-minute approval that unblocks your team for the week. 5 emails to warm up leads asking for the sale. Like, this is not deep, but this is high impact. And this is, for example, where my property call lived. Now from here, we only go downhill. This is quadrant 3. This is overbuild. Low impact, deep work. This is the trap. Spending 3 days perfecting your website copy when nobody's visiting your site yet. Building a 12 email nurture sequence before you've tested if anyone opens email 1. Creating a detailed content calendar 6 months out when you haven't even shipped, posted every day for a few weeks. This is where depth becomes craft worship. The thing is that you don't even, like, if it requires deep work, you don't have to be the one doing the deep work. You can put on your manager hat, delegate it to someone whose hourly rate is lower than yours. Let them do the deep work while you make the decisions. And this is where depth becomes overthinking, or where you're doing maker work that another maker should handle. And finally, the worst one, quadrant number 4, busy work. This is low impact, shallow work. Tweaking your logo again, reorganizing your CRM tags, attending meetings with no decision to make. Just stop doing it. Delete it from your calendar. Remove it from your list. Don't automate it. Don't delegate. It doesn't need to be done at all. But here's the problem. Life doesn't respect your calendar. High impact work shows up unannounced, and you need a clear rule for when to break a deep work block. Because without a rule, you either protect blocks religiously and miss critical moves, or you break blocks constantly and never actually build anything. And so I call this the impact override. If an action will move a decision, revenue, or unblock someone this week, you may interrupt a deep work block. But ask yourself these 2 questions first. 1, will this create more value than what I'm doing right now? Because if I'm building a lead magnet that could fill my pipeline for 3 months and someone wants approval on a $50 expense, then the answer is no. The lead magnet wins. If I'm writing my quarterly plan and a warm lead texts asking if we can talk today, then the answer is yes, the lead wins. And the second question is, will something actually break if this waits 2 hours? If the property deal moves to another buyer, then override. If the client is ready to sign, then override. If the team member needs help, then maybe they can move something else forward. If the email is marked as urgent, well, maybe they can wait. You have to be fierce about that morning block to protect it. And if you do override, you rebook that deep work block within 24 hours. You don't lose the time, you just move it. I made that property call at 9 a.m. and I rebooked my deep work block for 2 p.m. the same day. I protected the asset, I still got the work done. And that keeps you honest. You're not abandoning depth, you're just flexing around impact. And here's what nobody tells you about deep work. I mean, you could do deep work every day for a year and still go broke. You could still lose the deal, you could still watch your competitors win. Deep work without impact is just expensive practice. The top 1% aren't doing more deep work than you, they're doing the right work. They know the difference between a builder and an overbuild, between throughput and busy work. They count the moves, they don't count the minutes. You've got a choice. You can keep chasing deep hours and hope something moves, or you can use this matrix and know before you start that you're working on what matters. You can start Monday, you can score your calendar, kill the busy work, protect this one builder block, run a throughput sprint, and by Wednesday, you'll have moved more than you normally do in a week. Not because you worked harder, because you worked on what counts. If you want, you can grab this impact depth matrix below. It's totally free. You could just download it. But I do have a question. How do you protect those deep blocks when your calendar is already packed? How do you sustain energy when you're running at full capacity? I made a whole video on the 3 systems of intelligence, the operating system that lets you achieve by line shot most of all day and still have energy left for life after work. It's called the Peak Performance Plan, and the link's in the description as well. Thanks for watching. Now go make a difference.